Hi guys, and welcome back to the second section of the TouchDesigner and Arduino tutorial. We're just following along with Derivatives wiki page. In the last section we did sending data from the Arduino to TouchDesigner, and now today this time we're gonna do a receiving data on the Arduino from TouchDesigner. So first things first, let's copy paste this to our Arduino IDE. Okay, so we copy and pasted this, and just so you can see what's going on. I don't want to go through this in too much detail, but basically this is our base script for the Arduino, and we're going to end up putting this is the trigger on TouchDesigner. So in TouchDesigner we're going to run this script here, this one line of Python code, and what the Arduino is going to do is it's going to read in these 3 bytes and then the terminator, and based on what these 3 bytes are that it reads in, it's going to do something with that information. So this is our starting point. We still need to write in our own code when a valid message was received or when there was an error. I'm simply going to put in a serial.print function to just say message received, and then if there was an error, I'm going to do the same thing, serial.print rejected. So this is review from our last tutorial, the last section, serial.print, that's going to print back to our output DAT in TouchDesigner. Okay, so hopefully you have your Arduino plugged into your computer already, and you can say upload. Sure, save it as whatever. Uh-oh, missing terminator character. Oh, it's because there's ending quotation mark. Now we should be good. Great, done uploading. And then we're just going to open a new TouchDesigner project. Do this. Get rid of all this. Okay. Now we're going to double click, go to our DAT page. We're going to get a serial DAT just like last time. And we're going to set up on COM3. Again, this can be verified by going here. Easier to see. Right here, COM3. That's how I know. It's on COM3. We no longer get a warning message. And nothing's going to happen because the code that we've written to the Arduino, nothing's happening. We're not sending anything to TouchDesigner. Basically what we're waiting to happen is we're waiting for TouchDesigner to trigger the Arduino code. So basically this line we have to put in to TouchDesigner and run that script for any of this to happen. Right now right now the Arduino is working, and it is in this loop constantly if serial.available is greater than 0, but right now that is 0 because we're not sending anything through the serial port to the Arduino to pick up. So to do that, we can come here and just put in a simple text DAT, turn on our viewer mode, and go like this. So we are writing this line of code into our text DAT op serial1 dot send, and then we're sending these 3 bytes, 34, 56, terminator, and this is our line of code, that Python code. Quick rundown of what this code is doing. Op.serial, this is our object, our serial1.object, and we are going to run this method on that object. So the .send method is going to run with a terminator of inline character, and it's going to send these 3 bytes in. So basically, once we run this script, Arduino, these 3 bytes are going to be sent to the Arduino with the termination character, and then this line of code, this code in the Arduino is going to run. And finally, serial.available is going to be greater than 0 because we've just sent information through the serial port. And it's going to take incoming byte. It's going to store in incoming byte what we're reading through the port. So the first part of our buffer array is going to be 12, and then the next index is going to be 36, and the next index is going to be 56, followed by the termination character. So it's going to keep storing into buffer our bytes and then store in the termination character. And every time we store in a byte, it's going to check that that byte is not a new line terminator. The second it is a new line terminator, we're going to start reading all of this code, and like it says here, it's going to be the end of the message. So this is, once it reads in new line, it's going to know that that's the end of the message that TouchDesigner has sent to it, and it's going to take in the 3 bytes that we've sent through, and it's going to store each one into its corresponding variable. It's going to so basically it's going to scan in buffer, and it's going to scan in 12, it's going to scan in 34, and then 56, and they're going to be stored into each variable respectively. So red is going to have a value of 12, green is going to have a value of 34, and blue is going to have a value of 56. And what scanf does is it does all of this. It takes in a variable and stores in, depending on the format, into whatever variables you want it to be stored into. And then scanf returns the length of, or it returns the number of variables that had values stored into them. In our case, it's going to be 3. If we were to only send 12 and 34, scanf would return 2, and so on. So if TouchDesigner sends a correct or valid message, then we're going to take what variables were stored. Well, actually, we're not going to do that. That's the next tutorial. I'm getting ahead of myself. So if n is equal to 3, if scanf returns a value of 3, then a valid message was received, and we're simply going to print in our output dat here in TouchDesigner, we're simply going to print message received. And that way we know that the Arduino has successfully received data from TouchDesigner. And if we send an incorrect message, say one with only 12 and 34 and not a third byte of 56, then we're going to say parsing error rejected. So that's what's going to happen, and I'll show you both things right now. So we can come back over to TouchDesigner, make sure this is on, active's on. We'll try 1 per line. I think it's going to need to do 1 per byte. Anyway, we're going to come here. We're going to say run script. Oh, yep, 1 per byte, yep. Oh, and all I did was click on the warning message, and then it says, warning, 17 bytes pending, please ensure row callback format parameter set to 1 per byte. Simple fix, 1 per byte. Let's try this again. Run script. There we go. And this isn't the best way for me to do this. Like, the best way would probably have been to print the number 1 or something like that, so that it doesn't need to come, like, a string isn't the best thing for me to have sent, but I did. So you can see that it says received, and if we were to, so basically what we just proved is that the Arduino is successfully receiving a message from TouchDesigner. And then if we were to come over here, change this script to just have 2 items to store. Turn this off. Turn this back on. And then we ran the script again. See, it says rejected because scanf only returned a value of 2. So we go into our else statement and print rejected. Okay? But regardless, we've proven from these, just from this script, we've proven that the Arduino is successfully receiving all the information we're sending from TouchDesigner and successfully doing what we ask it to under certain conditions. Alright, so that's the end of the tutorial. We have successfully received data from the Arduino and done another step of sending a message back to TouchDesigner to confirm or deny that we've received a valid message. Okay, and in the next tutorial I want to bring it a step further and show you what you can do with what we've just learned from the wiki page.